So right now, we're going through the NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors. For those of you who don't know, I'm a big NBA fan, especially in the playoffs and especially in the finals. I noticed something during this matchup between these two teams, and what I particularly did notice was something that I think can translate into our business and into sales, right? Anytime you're learning a new product and a new product when it comes to sales, there's something that newer agents probably do that experienced and veteran agents don't do. And it was something that I heard being talked about on one of the telecasts that I think translates into our business very well. And today I'm going to talk about it on this video. This video is sponsored by none other than Lead Heroes, you guys. Lead Heroes has got you covered when it comes to telemarketed leads and virtual staffing. On the lead side, whether it be Medicare supplement leads, final expense leads, turning 65 leads, they just got something for everybody. They can also actually have you plug in with one of their virtual staff members on the staffing side to where you can pay by the hour for one of their trained and very well vetted staff members to help you out in your business in a virtual assistant format. Just because you watch this video, they're going to give you 10% off any order you make on their website. Link to the site can be found down in the description, so go ahead and check them out. It's the NBA Finals, Game 1. At the time of making this video, that's actually the only game that they've played so far. And the Boston Celtics come out in Game 1 and they claim victory over the Golden State Warriors. Now, everyone was kind of surprised about this. At least that was the kind of the impression I got from watching different people in the media. And if you're not into basketball and you're not into sports, please bear with me and do not click out of this video because there's an amazing, important, valuable lesson that doesn't get talked about enough that I'm getting to, that I'm actually tying together with this point that I'm making. But the Boston Celtics win Game 1, right? The NBA playoffs is a best of 7 series, right? The first team to win 4 games wins the round, and we're in the final round, which is the finals right now. So the Boston Celtics win, right? This is their first time that this group in particular has ever been to the finals. Whereas the Golden State Warriors, they've won multiple championships with this core, right? But the core looks a little different than it did in years past, right? If you followed kind of the landscape in the last 5 to 6 years in the NBA playoffs, this Golden State Warriors team won a championship 2015, I want to say, with their core of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and a lot of other very important players like Andre Iguodala, so on and so forth, right? But they had a lot of veterans at the time. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, they were all much younger. Remember, this was 7 years ago. And for a basketball player, 7 years is a long time, right? 7 years might be 20 years, 30 years in basketball years, right? And so those were the younger guys, relatively, right? Now they're the veterans this time around. Now that team also went through a phase where they had Kevin Durant on the team. Kevin Durant helped them win 2 more championships. They had some injuries, didn't win the 3rd one in a row. He left to go to the Brooklyn Nets, and everybody kind of had their doubts on if this team was going to be able to get back to the top of the mountain. So now they're back at the top of the mountain because now they have a lot of new players that have emerged on their team, right? They have guys like Jordan Poole, who's younger, but who's developed as a very, very good basketball player. They have a couple rookies who their names I'm not remembering right now, but you guys kind of get the point, right? They still have their same core of guys, but they're older. Klay Thompson's coming off of a very, very serious injury, so he's not exactly the same player as he used to be. But they work together as a collective unit, and they beat you as a team, right? Steph is still really good. Steph isn't probably in his prime anymore, but they have such a good collective unit in terms of the team, right? So I heard a couple of the players talking after the loss. And what they actually were talking about at the end of this game was, it's just one game, and we've been here before. And those veteran players, they are so necessary and so needed for a team that has players that are really, really young, like Jordan Poole and some of the rookies on the team and some of the younger players on the team that maybe haven't been here before, but Steph Curry's been there before. Klay Thompson's been there before. Draymond Green's been there before. Andre Iguodala, who's still on the team, doesn't play much, has been there before, right? All of these guys have been there many, many times. They've won 3 championship rings together in the NBA. So they know one very important lesson. You do not overreact one way or the other, whether you have success or whether you have failure. Let me dive into this a little bit deeper, okay? Whether you win this game one, it doesn't mean you've won the entire thing. You still have 3 more games to win, and you cannot get comfortable, you cannot get relaxed, because the next game, the team that is competing against you is going to come out, make some adjustments, and try to punch you in the mouth and take the next game, right? Whereas if you lose the game, it doesn't mean you've lost the whole series either, and you cannot let yourself get discouraged, defeated, and you just can't overreact one way or the other, because it's going to really, really damper your team and your ability to actually win the whole thing. These veteran players know this. These younger, less experienced players don't know this. And so I think this translates into sales. One thing that I see all the time, I'm working with new agents consistently, right? I have agents that I'm working with in the office that are still learning things that are new. I have agents that I work with that are on the independent side that aren't in our office that are very new. And one thing I see that they tend to do is they go like this. They go up and down and up and down and up and down. It is a dramatic roller coaster ride. When things are going well, they are high as the sky. But the second something goes wrong, they get a chargeback, they lose a client, something comes that's a bump in the road that's inevitable, that everybody goes through, by the way. And they're so high, something bad happens, and it's a long drop down to where they crash down here, right? Let's say the medium level is right here. They're going up and down and up and down and up and down. Whereas if something goes wrong, they let themselves get really, really down, and it ends up defeating them. It discourages them, and it takes them sometimes days to bounce back from it. Sometimes they just absolutely let themselves get freaked out. And what they really need is they need a veteran presence there, somebody who's a veteran salesperson in our space, who's done it at a high level, who's been out in the trenches, that knows how to keep the troops calm. And I think this is such a great analogy that translates into what we do, because that's what's going on with the Golden State Warriors. They're not letting their younger, inexperienced players go like this. Those veteran players, and they may not win the series, they may, but I promise you they'll come back in game 2. At the time of this airs, game 2 will actually have been played, so maybe you can actually tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, but I would be willing to expect they'll come back out game 2 composed, not rattled, and they'll be looking to get a win with a new strategy, right? And they stay like this. Don't get too high, don't get too low. Because if you get too high, you're going to crash back down. When something goes wrong, if you get too low, you're going to get discouraged, demoralized, and you're not going to have the will to continue on, right? And same goes with basketball, same goes with sales. It's so important to have a leader, a mentor who's been there before. I do this with my agents. I do this with my troops. I try to keep them right here. My job is to keep them, to give them the tools of what they need to be successful, the teachings and the trainings of what they need to be successful, but I want to keep them right here. I don't want them to get too high. I don't want them to get too low. And they need me whispering in their ear all the time, it's just one app. One deal. One deal is not going to make or break you. Just like one game in the playoffs is not going to make or break a team. One sale, or even a couple sales, is not going to make or break you as an agent or make or break your business. So you cannot let yourself get too high and too excited off of 1 or 2 deals. You can't let yourself get too low from losing 1 or 2 deals. You have to stay even keel, stay the course, and be the master of your emotions. Being the master of your emotions is vital, and this is why it's so important to have a veteran, seasoned, top-producing mentor in your ear at all times, because from there, you're going to be in a situation where they can just remind you, hey, stay even, stay centered, stay even-keeled. And the new, inexperienced salespeople, they need that at all times. So if you can learn anything from this NBA playoffs, that's what I've taken away from it. That's what I would encourage you to keep in mind if you're a new salesperson. Remind yourself, don't let yourself get too high or low, because it's setting yourself up for failure either way. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts about this topic. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Share some examples of when this lesson had to be learned from you if you're an experienced and seasoned veteran agent. Make sure to drop a like on this video if you enjoyed the content. Smashing that like button helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps so many agents like you that need to hear our content find it and see it easier. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're notified when we upload. And until next time, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Here's to success and your abundance. Thanks, guys.